Right, lastly, let's have a look at this real quick. I'm quite interested to have a look at another part of the poll that was done with Newshub, but it's only been released tonight. And I got to say again, this is off the news tonight. I saw this headline. Yeah, let me read the headline to you. It says, Newshub read research poll, vast majority of New Zealanders support a tax-free threshold. On the Newshub site, I wonder if I can bring it up. Let me just turn that off for a second. I'll bring it up. It said something very different. It really did. It really did sell it like it was a tax breaks for everyone. They want tax breaks. New Zealanders want tax breaks, which it was pitched very. No, I can't say very clearly. That's not fair. It was pitched. I thought it felt to me like it was pretty clear that it was pitched saying, see, National's right, everyone wants tax cuts. Whereas when you actually watch the story, it's talking about a tax-free threshold, which is actually a very left-wing policy, because the tax-free threshold is basically the first $14,000 with no tax. Let's have a look at the story, because it's not quite as simple as I'm always portraying it. I have a look at what they've got to say. So this is from the same research poll that came out last night, but it's another question or policy that was asked.
Kia ora, good evening. Jacinda Ardern has taken an almighty swing at the banks, suggesting they consider their social responsibility as Westpac becomes the latest to post $1 billion profit.
It comes as the Labor Party tries to reset the conversation on cost of living relief. But Newshub can reveal the vast majority of Kiwis are concerned about the government taking their money. They want tax relief for every single New Zealander. Political editor Jenna Lynch reports.
See, even that phrasing. Now, I'm not accusing the host of anything. They're reading teleprompters. They want tax relief for every single New Zealander. I mean, that sounds like something that you'd expect Christopher Luxon to say. Now, I'm not saying it's inaccurate, but it's always interesting the way things are couched. Whereas actually the policy they're going to talk about is an unbelievable left-wing policy, because it's got nothing to do with lowering the top tax rate. It's got nothing to do with the top 2%. It's completely, if this idea was to be put through, I'd completely support this idea, because it's 100% about those who are most vulnerable with the least amount of money getting the most benefit out of a tax cut. However, the question is missing a very important component, and that is what happens in Australia. I'll get to that.
Strutting up to stick it to the banks.
I think there's questions need to be asked through management of these banks as to whether or not they are serving their communities well.
Jacinda Ardern peeved with their profiteering.
What we're seeing currently, I don't think is justifiable.
Westpac posted $1 billion profit, up 12%. ANZ recently $2.3 billion, up 20%.
Are they demonstrating social licence? Are they demonstrating a commitment to the communities that they're serving by taking profits such as those in these current times?
Fresh from an appalling Newshub poll result and sick of being smashed about over the cost of living crisis.
Sorry. Don't you love that? Fresh from an appalling poll result. Appalling.
Ardern is fired up, tackling the issue that will define next year's election head on.
Bring it on.
Yesterday announcing a childcare subsidy to take the pressure off parents. But Newshub can reveal what voters really want is tax cuts for everyone.
Well, I think we're third world when it comes to the taxes here in this country.
When you look at general wages and how far they go, it doesn't go far at all.
In New Zealand, every dollar you earn is taxed. The first $14,000 is taxed at 10%.
Just remember, tax cuts for everyone is still how the National Party is selling it, because they're talking about adjusting the tax bands, to inflation levels, which means everyone would get tax. So why I wanted to show you this is really important, is that when Christopher Luxon comes out tomorrow and says, see, the people have spoken, they want tax cuts for everybody, that's what we're going to do, it is a very different fucking animal from what this question is. That's why I'm saying it looks like it's set up to be sort of a right-wing talking point, you know what I'm saying? It looks like it's set up to be tax cuts for everybody. Your bottom guys will get 2% and the middle guys will get this and the top guys will get this, but this is not what this is.
0.5%. Every dollar you earn over that, up to 48 grand, is taxed at 17.5%. Then everything up to 70k at 30%, 70 to 180 at 33, and every dollar over $180,000 is taxed at 39 cents. In Australia, their tax rates are higher, but they have a tax-free threshold.
Now notice this. I fucking love this. Notice this. Their tax threshold is there, but they have higher tax rates. But guess what TV3 Newshub doesn't do? They don't show you what the details for the Australian system is. So they're asking people, do you want a tax-free threshold? And everyone's going, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good. But they're not going, okay, we're going to lose tax. So if we do it, we need to do this a different way. This is how Australia does it. They don't explain it. It's hilarious. I'm going to explain it.
You don't pay a single cent of tax on your first $18,000. Jeff Nightingale was on. In Australia, their tax rates are higher, but they have a tax-free threshold. You don't pay a single cent of tax.
Their tax rates are higher, but they don't show us what their tax rates are. So what it does feel again like they're saying, see, tax. It's just hilarious.
On your first $18,000. Jeff Nightingale was on the government's tax working group. The cost to do that here would be exorbitant.
So it's quite an expensive way to deliver sort of tax relief to everybody.
But voters overwhelmingly want it. In our latest Newshub Read research poll, we asked, would you support a tax-free threshold in New Zealand? 84.5% said yes, 9.1% said no, 6.4% didn't know.
So the 6.4%, look, I'd support it, right? Straight away. But the 6.4% are the only people who've done it, because that's a ridiculous question. Because would you support a tax-free threshold in New Zealand? My response will be, well, what are the details? Tell me what the details are. Because let's have a look at that, shall we? Let's have a look at that. So this is the current tax thresholds in New Zealand. 14,000, 10.5%, up to 48,000, 17%, up to 70,000, 30%, up to 180,000 from 70, 33, then 39. This is the Australian way that they do it, because obviously they're going to lose tax from here. So guess what they have to do? They have to pay. You have to charge more tax in these thresholds, or else you don't have enough tax to run the fucking country. But Newshub hasn't asked that. They haven't said, assuming we put all the other tax thresholds up, would you support a tax-free threshold in New Zealand? No, they've just said it. So let's have a look again. These are the bands for New Zealand: 14 to 48, 17.5%. In Australia, 18 to 45 is 19 cents, right? 17.5 cents. So you're paying 1.5% more tax in that bracket. Up to 145 to 120,000 is 32.5 cents. 48 to 70,000 is 30 cents. And then there's a part of it in this band, 33 cents, 70 to 180. And then, where did it go? 70 to 180 is 33. That one, 70 to 180 is 33. To 180 is 37. So 120 to 180 is 37. That's 4% more tax. And then finally, 180,000 plus is 39% in New Zealand. In Australia, 180,000 is 45 cents in the dollar, 6% more. So when fucking Newshub asks this ridiculous question, would you support a tax-free threshold in New Zealand? And everyone goes, oh yeah. It's like, actually, you haven't given us the information, or the respondents the information, because what it actually means, what I should have done, and maybe I'll do this for tomorrow night, is take a couple of average salaries and say, like, what would you now be paying in tax? Because you may end up paying more in tax under this system. Now, again, I support this system because what it would do is it gives the bottom $15,000, the beneficiaries, the retirees, students with jobs, these kinds of people, no tax on that first $15,000. But there is an and then, or an and but. And but the other tax codes or thresholds must go up, and they're not doing it.
I'm down with that.
It's a great idea.
Sorry, they're not doing it. They're not talking about that. So all these people are saying, I'm down with that, great idea. Are they going to be okay if they're on 180,000 plus, paying another 6% on that income? Are they okay with that as well?
No, 6.4% didn't know.
I'm down with that.
It's a great idea.
I think that's fair.
The government has taken aim at National's proposal to drop the top tax rate, giving the top 2% a tax cut, but not ruling out tax relief for lower income earners at next year's election.
Would the government consider a tax-free threshold?
I would just say it is quite a different proposal than what we've seen coming from the opposition at present, because it's inverse. It focuses on those on the lowest incomes.
Of course.
Let the tax off
It's a left-wing
begin.
policy.
Kia ora, Jenna. Whoa, shots fired.
It's a left-wing policy, but it has to also increase tax take from elsewhere. Because I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad tidings for everybody out there, is that if you take tax away from somewhere, you have to find it elsewhere. The National Party wants to go in and take tax away from tax take from people, and they want to try and make the money back by cutting spending, and that will typically affect the most vulnerable most of all. That's a typical right-wing National Party, which is why when we had an earlier commentator, and sorry if I've forgotten your name, the earlier commenter saying, let's wait till national policy come out before we look at some polls. I agree with you. We'll see what happens next year. It's an interesting conversation for tonight. So if you're on board, be aware that if you say yes to a tax-free threshold, and let's keep the New Zealand numbers because that would seem easy, right? So let's keep the numbers. So let's just make it $14,000 is zero. What you're going to find is 14 to 48 goes to 19.5-ish. 48 to 70 is going to go to, let's say, 34, 35. 70 to 180 is going to go to 38, 39. And 180 plus is going to go to 45. That's the fucking question. Are you okay with that? And I'll say it again, I'm on board. I'm okay with that. That's actually what you need to do.